Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through. This time around it's Monster Party, brought to us by Bandai and Human Entertainment. Now Bandai mainly publishes games, as they publish the Dragon Ball Z game still today. They also are responsible for publishing Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde in the United States. Now Monster Party is a very interesting game. It's actually pretty good, and it has some cool things that puts it over the top, in my opinion, to make it a great game. Now you just saw the opening there, that was just basically the title screen. You saw some of the random monsters that we're going to be dealing with throughout this game, including some interesting things such as a fried shrimp, which we'll get into more of the fried shrimp later. Now here we go with the actual storyline for the game as the text moves slowly by, but I'm going to pretty much summarize it, and of course you're reading it as it goes on. But anyway, basically this kid named Mark is walking home from his baseball game one night when he looks up in the starry sky, and of course he sees stars, but there's one particular star that's actually quite bright. And he gets mesmerized by it. He's just kind of staring up in space. I guess what a normal kid would do that just randomly would see a bright star. But anyway, he stops, he takes a look, and he realizes it's falling to Earth. And then eventually it falls right next to him, and he realizes, hey, that's not a star. It's actually, in fact, a monster, and more specifically, a gargoyle. And the gargoyle gets up and says, hey, my name is Bert. Heck of a name for a gargoyle, but we'll go with it. Anyway, Bert's homeworld is being attacked by monsters, is being messed up, there's a lot of crap going on, and basically Bert has selected Mark over anyone else because Mark's carrying a baseball bat. Bert pretty much refers to it as a weapon, and he's saying, hey, you come back with me to my homeworld and help me save it. Now I'm sure there's an infomercial out there that tells little kids, don't talk to strange gargoyles, especially ones that just fell from the sky and are saying they're promising you they're going to take you back to their home world where you can battle monsters and save the world. Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what happens when most of these gargoyles pick up little kids off the street and take them to their home world, quote unquote. But anyway, Mark decides, hey, guess what, I guess that sounds good to me, and we're, after a long drawn-out conversation that the text just keeps going, seemingly. Anyway, Bert picks up Mark and they start flying through the sky like it's no big deal. And basically what they decide is that one of the things that Mark can do in order to help save Bert's homeworld is they can fuse together. And they don't have to do any kind of fusion dance or anything, but they can fuse together. And that will allow them, in order to be more powerful, in order to save Bert's homeworld. Now I hope you got most of that. Basically, kid goes with gargoyle to another world to save it. There you go. That's the general summarizing of what I just said for the last 2 minutes of this video. But anyway, as we see flashing, as we are about to begin our adventure. Now what the key thing is in this game is you're going pretty much as a normal platform action type game, especially on the NES. We've seen these types of games before. And you have a baseball bat as your main weapon, and it's really cool that you actually can hit the projectiles back at most enemies, and when they do hit enemies, it's usually an instant kill. Because some enemies are taking 3, 4, 5 shots or more that end up killing them, but if you hit them with one of the projectiles right back at them with the baseball bat, it ends up killing them instantly. And now here's the very first boss battle of the game. It's a giant plant that is pretty much reminiscent of Little Shop of Horrors, and it spits little bubbles out at us, and we're going to have to hit the bubbles right back at it with our baseball bat, and we just slowly do damage. We can get up closer to it and do a lot more damage if I kind of just timed it right, but I'm going to be saving my energy at least right this second in order to try to build it up a little bit, because there will be quite a few boss battles where the best strategy is pretty much just go in and start attacking no matter how many times you end up getting hurt. And basically that's the only way you'll be able to do some of these battles. Now in terms of overall difficulty, really it's not that hard. There's actually only one boss battle I think in the entire game that is actually really difficult, and that's just because of the programming of the boss, and we'll get to him way later as he's in actually the last level of the game. Now for the structure of the game, besides this being an action platformer, you actually go around, there's multiple doors in each level. Now some of these doors just take you to a blank empty area, for example the door that we're about to pass. Now in this game, I'm actually just going to skip all the empty doors, because all it is you walk into a door and it says it's empty, and then the door opens up and you go through. You don't have to enter these doors in order to complete the game, so we really aren't going to deal with them. Now for the other boss battles, for the other doors, they actually contain boss battles. As here's the more infamous one of the more infamous ones. It's a giant spider that's already dead before we even got a chance to do battle with him. I mean, that's just something you really never have seen before in a game. The fact that a boss battle is already dead before you even face them, as now the world goes all scary. And it's actually one of the cooler moments in the game, because It seemed a little bit scary, but now it's just frightening. I mean, there's blood everywhere, everything has an evil face on it. I mean, you think this game is screwed up beyond anything that you've probably ever played before, especially when you just got up to this point. You know, for the most part, most of the enemies are staying the same, and now we have eyeballs with tentacles and all kinds of crap going on, as we now do a battle with a pumpkin head style ghost, reminiscing a little bit of the boss from Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, the blind the thief, the girl that you take in, hits light and goes nuts and spins her head crazy like the Exorcist. Kind of similar to that. Actually, very similar to that, since unfortunately this jack-o'-lantern won't split itself. Basically, for strategy, we're just running up and hitting it. You can hit the projectiles with the little mini pumpkins that it throws at you, knock them back at it, do damage. And after defeating this pumpkin, we're actually going to get a key. And you basically have to defeat all the bosses. You know, usually there's 3 per level. You get a key, and then you can make it to the end of the level and actually be able to enter the final door. This game has a mix of many things, and since unfortunately they never made a sequel, unfortunately this game only came out in America, it was never released in Japan, even though it looked like the publishing was gonna allow it to be released in Japan, and maybe if it had, we would have seen more of this game, but it's just another one of those great NES classics that just unfortunately we'll never probably see anything from ever again. Now as I'm nearing the end here, so I'm going to skip another door because it's another one of the empty doors and we'll get through it. There's only one level that actually is really difficult to have to deal with, and when we get to it I'll show you the correct doors in order to make it to the level quickly, because it's one of those levels, and there's a bunch of them in NES games. For example, Astyonix has one of them, where if you have to enter the right doors in order to make it through the maze, in order to get to the end of it. It doesn't send you back to the beginning if you enter the wrong door, but you may end up getting lost, and if you get completely lost in it, you're going to be stuck in there for a while. Now here is the first boss of level 2. It's basically a stagnant Medusa-style snake that just sits there, shoots little tiny snake-type things at us. Basically, it looks like a snake that just ate a rat or something because it's kind of fat. Once that's taken care of, we're going to get the question mark, which is, for the first time in the game, I actually got the transform. Now, you saw at the beginning cutscene, you actually fused with Bert. Now, here's the first time in this run of the game that I've actually been able to turn into Bert. Throughout the game, every time you beat a boss, you get a question mark item, and that question mark will either give you bonus points, extra health, or will turn you into this mutant form of pretty much Mark fused with Bert. You can also get random pills from other enemies that will automatically turn you into Bert, as well as, of course, you can pick up the health upgrades and stuff like that, as well as the question mark things that do, well, one of the 3 things: points, health, or turn you into Bert. Now, some enemies I'm just going to kind of skip over in case they do a lot more damage than it's actually necessary to deal with them. Now, here's one of the few annoying things that get on my nerves in this game. You can hear it a little bit in the background, I'm sure. That annoying kind of beeping sound that pretty much is happening when you're about to turn back into regular just Mark with the baseball bat from out of the Bert mutation form. And it's just one of those things, just like when you have low health in the Legend of Zelda games, it just gets on my nerves to no end. I will never understand why in video games that was a good idea. I understand it beeps once or twice, but I do not understand why in certain games the beep just had to continue until you finally get health. Like it's some big warning, big siren, look, you have low health. It's like, yeah, I got it when I looked at my health bar and figured out I had low health. Let alone do I have to hear a beeping sound for literally like 10 minutes until I finally kill a freaking Octorok that actually gives me a damn heart. Okay, I just went kind of a complete rant there. But anyway, this is a fun little boss battle because you have to fight fried food. Oh yes, fried food. As we start off with a fried shrimp, which was mentioned. We saw it in the opening title screen. Now we actually get to do battle with it. It basically bounces around. It really doesn't do much. And if it hits you, it doesn't do really any damage whatsoever. As we are now battling it with a giant onion ring, as I just turned out of Bert form and back into Mark form. And that's kind of one of these weird things about this game. I mean, you literally, saying that I'm turning from Bert into Mark. This is something that doesn't really happen often, especially from taking pills and stuff. Just one of those cool things that's just another element of this game, is now I'm doing battle with, it looks like some kind of shish kebab type fried food. It looks like random fried food items put on some kind of stick. And basically it's doing the same exact thing the onion ring and the shrimp before it did, and it fails and loses just as much as they did. But anyway, after it's defeated, of course, we get another question